Well, good morning, YouTubers. This is Vince N5ATM, and this is my first video related to ham radio. And I've got a little project going today, and I thought I would try out this newfangled YouTube video stuff. So let me run it down for you here. I've got a vertical that I'm putting up. I've got a SteppIR BigIR Vertical used that I bought from W5XJ Grant, who is a friend of mine. And interestingly enough, if you do a search on YouTube for SteppIR verticals, you don't come across many, but one of the ones you come across is Grant's. When he installed this antenna, it showed him putting it together and putting it up in his backyard. Well, he has since decided that he's going to go with a tower and beam at some point, so he decided to sell this antenna. I've always wanted one, so I picked it up from him for a really good price. I think I bought it back around March with intent on putting it up, but hadn't gotten around to it till now. And I actually decided a couple of weeks ago that I was going to sell it and put up a beam too, but no one that wants to buy it is local from so far. So I thought, you know what, I'm just going to go ahead and keep it, put it up. I want a vertical as well as a beam, so I'll go ahead and start with what I've got. And so here I am. I'm going to put this thing together over the next few weeks and see if I can get this thing running. And where I'm at now is, yesterday I went out and dug the hole, and it got a little late, so I couldn't go any further, so the rest of the work I did indoors. And what I've done here is, this is the bottom of the antenna. This is what the antenna actually mounts on this pole. And this pole, you can either go directly in the ground, or you can go into and do what I've done here, which is let me zoom out just a little bit. Well, maybe not. What I've done here is made this Schedule 40 1.5 inch PVC. And this is what's actually going to go in the ground in the cement. And so what I did here is you can get a good look at this. I drilled a couple of holes and I put a couple of bolts that I had laying around through it. The first one serves as a stop for the mast here to go in and stop as a resting point. And both of them, I had the other one to serve as something for the concrete to bite on around the mast or around the PVC. So I figure this setup right here, I just drilled the hole, stuck the bolt through, put a little super glue on it to keep it there. I don't need any nuts or washers or anything because the concrete's going to lock it in place. But that's the idea. Give it something concrete to bite onto. This should go in the ground and be pretty stable. I cut a couple of slots in the top here with the idea that once I put the mast in, I'll put a hose clamp around it and lock it down. That way it won't twist in the wind in any fashion. And so this should be pretty solid. I saw somebody else on YouTube I found a website where a guy had done that, and I thought it was a good idea, and so I'm going to do the same. What's going to end up being is all of this is going to be in the concrete except for up to right here, which is about 2 inches. It'll be out of the ground. The mark is actually the ground level. So I've got that all ready to go. What I did here on the mast, as you can see, I put some tape because the fit from the mast to the PVC was not perfect. But with a little tape, I've added a little bit of a gap fill. And so now when I put this in here, it's nice and tight. There's no slop. There's no movement. And then I'll put a hose clamp on here. And when I tighten that down, when I tighten that down, it should be nice and solid. And if I ever need to pull the antenna out, or want to sell the antenna, or maybe if I decide I'm going to move, then all that will be left in the ground is the PVC. I could always cut that off or leave it, and off I go on my merry way. So that's the idea, and this is how far I've gotten so far. Now I'm going to end the video here, and I will go outside and get this mounted in the concrete, and when I get to that point, I'll show you a little bit of the final base installation. And as I progress through the project, I will video that as well to document yet another ham radio vertical going up for your YouTube watching pleasure. Anyway, I'll sign off for now. Back after a while. November 5, Alpha Tango Mike, Vince. Okay, so moving on with the vertical installation here. Wanted to show you that I now have the base installed, and I purchased a DX Engineering radio plate and a little bit of hardware for that, and I have got that installed. I see that's concrete. I think I took 3 or 4 bags, and the hole's about 12 inches across and about I think I went about 30 inches deep, maybe a little bit more than I needed to, but the soil out here where I live shifts a lot, and so it's good to go deep as you can from what I've seen. There's a bunch of clay out here, and when it dries out, it moves a lot. Sometimes, not really seeing it right now, but sometimes these craters, and this dirt really craters out here are so big that you have to be careful you don't step in one. So anyway, here's the base. Nothing unusual about this, pretty standard. I showed you the PVC pipe that I had, and what you're looking at here is the pole for the antenna. In there was some electrical tape around it, the DX Engineering radio plate installed. I'm going to have to twist that around a little bit now that I've figured out a couple of things. And also what you're seeing here, let me flip this around, is I've got the PVC, most of it, in place. This will be my installation from my coax and control cable run back to the shack. And so what I'm doing here is I'm exiting the base of the antenna, going about, I'd say 25 feet or so, to the right and go around my sprinkler for my septic system. That way I don't have to worry about crossing it and tearing it up, which is what I'm really worried about. And so the idea is basically to run out here, go around where the sprinkler is, and as you can see now, it goes back to the house, and it's a straight run all the way back. And I'm hoping this weekend to go rent a trencher and trench the hole for this. Once I have that done, I'll pull the coax in for coax and control wires through it, rebury the PVC, and everything after that's pretty simple. It's just laying the radials out, putting the antenna together, and I'll take you to the next spot, or I'll pick up there when I get to that point. All right, till then, we'll see you later. Okay, so here we are out in the garage. I've started building the antenna. I've got parts of it done. I put this particular SteppIR Vertical is I believe it's a Mark III. I'm not gonna bet on that, but I'm pretty sure that's what it is. One of the older ones, I think. And so it already had this first piece attached to it right here. I believe the new ones are cut like right here, and you attach the pole right there, probably for shipping purposes. Anyway, so I attached the first piece here. I've attached the PVC all the way inside, and I've done 2 joints on the telescoping pole. I did this first one, and then I've done the second one here. And I was going to show you what I did here on the first one. What I've done, and the reason I'm pointing that out is that I decided that I wanted to have a guile ring, but the instructions for this antenna showed a guile ring right here that I guess you can purchase with the antenna, and I did not get that when I purchased this antenna. And Grant W5XJ, who I bought it from, had fabricated a guile wire ring, and his set right here, which is what they show in the instructions. However, to my way of thinking and in my opinion, I think it really ought to be up one more joint. So what I did is I put a hose clamp here, and I made my own guile wire ring. I actually had a piece of plexiglass. I don't know if you can see this well. Let me turn it over here. I made a piece of plexiglass, and it was a small piece. It wasn't perfectly round, so that's why it's a little flat on the sides, but for my purposes it doesn't matter. And I drew out the hole with a Dremel, so it's not perfectly round, close enough for government work here. And I figured that on. I built that up last night, and I'm going to slip that over right here on this joint, right about here. So my idea for guiding the antenna, I don't want it guided all the time. I want it to be freestanding most of the time, but when it's bad weather is headed my way, since I am out in the country and there's not a lot to stop the wind out here, it gets the weather down here gets rather drastic out here in the country. So I decided I would need some guile wires, but not all the time. So my idea is to put the guile ring on, and then I'm going to tie some rope from these 3 holes, and I'm going to run it down and just basically probably put a Velcro strap or something and put them right here. I'm going to have 3 that are about this long, and I'll just stick them onto the antenna. They won't affect the antenna anyway because it's the nylon rope. And then when I need to connect them, when the weather is bad, I'll just hook the rest of the guile wire on with a carabiner or something, and tie it off to my fence on both sides of the yard. And then I'll leave the rope out there on the fence, so when I need it, it's easy to walk over, connect the guile wires up, and call it done. That way they're not in the way when I mow, and they are not in my way in any fashion, and it doesn't look bad. But I still have them when needed. So that's my idea. We'll see how it works out in practice. Anyway, I'm going to finish putting the antenna together, and that's nothing more than extending the poles out, putting some silicone tape on there, and then wrapping electrical tape. So I'll spare you that part. There's nothing to that. I'm going to actually test it at this point before I put the last fiberglass extension poles on there. I want to make sure the antenna's working properly before I put it all together. Once I'll do that, I'll put it all together, test it one more time, and basically go ahead and put my weatherproof my coax connections, at least for the balun that I have here. This is a Balun Designs coax balun 1-to-1 choke dual core balun. I broke the tabs off on it, so I can't screw it on, so I basically kind of got it hanging there with some tie straps, which should work okay. If not, I might have to figure something out at a later point, but I think that'll get me going. So anyway, I'm going to make my coax jumper from the balun to the BigIR up, and it'll be ready to go put it out on the mast. I'll probably go ahead and put it out there just because I don't have any place else to put it. Might as well stick it up on the pole, see how it goes, even though I don't have the trench dropped in for the coax and everything. Anyway, just wanted to show you that point, and I'll get back to you when I'm at the next step. See you then. Okay, so here we are again in the installation of the SteppIR. This is Vince, November 5, Alpha Tango Mike. And so here's the final installation, or pretty much so, of the SteppIR BigIR Vertical. So let me get down here and I'll show you a little bit here of how I did this. You know, they're all pretty much the same, but I've got a copper strap connected to the DX radial, DX Engineering radial. This is my pipe coming up with my coax and my control wires. And let's see here, I'll pan around here. That's the DX Engineering, or the Balun Designs rather, balun that I've got connected onto it. Here's the back side. I come out of the ground with the coax, and I bought some new coax for this. I bought some DX Engineering, I think it's called DX 400 from DX Engineering. Everybody seems to like it a lot, so I figured I'd go with it. And I used some of that corrugated pipe, or corrugated wire channel that you can get, and because I don't really like the idea of these wires being exposed, so I came out of there and I taped that together. Probably could use some more, trying to get everything going, so I probably can put some polishing touches on it later. And then over here is the connections to the EHU, which is still open wire, or still showing, but I think that's okay. More concerned with rain going down, dripping off of it. And then there's connections on the coil. I was thinking I might do some liquid tape for this on those terminals, because I really don't like the idea of them being exposed. Kind of a poor design idea in my opinion. Seems like they could have sprang for another connector to make it kind of clean. Anyway, antennas built and mounted, radio plate in place, everything connected. As you can see here, I trenched all the way out here as discussed, and let's see here. So I'm going to go around that corner right there, and then the trench runs all the way up to the shack here, which is that window. And that wasn't too bad. I rented a trencher. It took about 30 minutes to actually trench the hole. It's taken a lot longer than that to fill it back in. Put all the conduit together, pulled the wire, which was surprisingly easy. And here we are. Got it all buried today, and I started laying out radials. That's what you see here. That's what we're doing now. I put some weed killer on it right around here. See, the grass is already turning brown nicely within a few hours, because I want to kill everything around that. And then I'm going to put some bricks around here to square it off, kind of like I did right here. I found when mowing my yard, I used to have some ones that kind of went around it, some pavers in a circular pattern, which I thought looked pretty nice. However, the problem is when you mow, it's really hard to cut a good tight circle around those pavers, at least with my mower. So what I did is I put them in a square fashion, which makes it really easy to mow. So anyway, that's the situation right now. Like I said, I'm in the process of putting my radials down now. At this point, I'm about to have 16 out here today, and I'll continue on with that over the next few days. And get all of my 64 planned radials in place, and give you a shot. I was going to show you one other thing. You see up at the top here, there's my guy wire ring that I made out of plexiglass. My temporary guy wires are laying down here. I've got them strapped because the idea is that I'll leave them like this. And then I'll keep the rest of the guy wire on my fence where it's going to go, probably over in that corner and over here somewhere, and then on the opposite fence I'm going to have 3 guy points. Now, I'll leave the majority of the guy wire over there, and then when I need to, I'll walk out here and use a carabiner and clip it to those loops and pull it tight, and boom, I'm in business. So once again, that's the idea. We'll see how it works out in practice. May not be a good idea, but I'm going to give it a shot. So anyway, that's it for right now on the SteppIR build. I did get in the shack and tune it up when I had 8 radials. Everything looked good except for 160 and 80 and 60. SWR was about 2.5. I couldn't seem to get any lower, and that may be due to the fact that I only had 8 radials at the time. I'm about to have 16, so I'll give it another shot and see how that goes. I'm hoping that will change as I add more radials. Otherwise, maybe I have an issue and I'm just not aware of it yet with that coil. Anyway, there you go for now. I'll update you when I do probably the rest of the videos in my final installation here. So once again, thanks for watching. Talk to you later. In 5, 18. Okay guys, I'm back with another small installment here on the SteppIR installation. I wanted to show you a couple of things. I'm just about finished with the radios here, but I wanted to show you how I was doing this. This is probably nothing new, but what I did is I put a stake in the ground here and another one there. You might not be able to see it, but 65 feet down. And then what I would do is I would have my wife hold the spool over here. I tied one in right here. I'd have her hold the spool, and then I would just walk down, loop it around the other end, and walk back. Basically, you got 2 for 1 on that deal. So once I'd used up a roll, then I would just cut the ends off of it, take it inside, and wire up my lugs on that. Solder those on. I crimped and soldered them both. I'm using some number 14 stranded insulated that I bought from Home Depot. So 500-foot rolls. They're about 30 foot. They're about $27 to $30 a roll, and I think I used like 8 of them. I had a little bit already. I get about 7 radials out of a roll with a little bit left over, like 7.5, 7 3/4. And so what I did is I kept all those partial pieces, tied those all together off the rolls, and then made what I got here was another 4 out of that, which gave me everything I needed. All right, so I have all the radials cut. I'm going to go inside and finish soldering on the lugs here in a little bit. It's getting too dark to put any more radials out. But I also wanted to show you what I was doing right here. Basically, so there's the antenna. And what I did is I bought bundles of these little, I guess you call them surveyor flags. You can get like a bundle of them. I think they're like 100 of them for $7 or something like that at Home Depot. Anyway, I bought a couple of bundles of those. And what I do is I stretch a wire out, you know, doing it radio 4, then 4, then 4, and putting these out. I didn't space them, I didn't measure them, I just kind of squared it off. So I did the first 4, and then I did the next 4 in between those, and before you know it, they're pretty close and it's easy to eyeball. That's why I used them. So I put the flag at the end of every one of them. And also I used them to make my yard staples. I don't have any here to show you, but I took that same flag, I take the plastic off of it and cut me some yard staples. Real simple. I sit around doing that while I'm watching TV. And I've actually got a bunch more than that. So I would just put like 3 when I lay the radial out. I would put 3 in, and then go on to the next one. And tomorrow, when I finish putting the last 11 radials out to have a full 64, then I will come back and staple everything down, because my land here has got a lot of high spots, low spots. It's not what you'd call level. So I need to make sure that I staple it down nice and close to the ground all the way around, so that the grass will grow up. But here you can see all those flags going all the way around, and luckily I had enough room here to do a full 65-foot radial field in a very good circle. Probably can't see it really well, but coming around. So I have a really good radial field for this thing. In theory, that should make it work pretty well. Now, I am going to have some sort of interaction, I'm guessing. Maybe you guys could tell me. But this is my, I don't know if it's going to focus on this. This is my dipole. I have a 240-foot all-band true ladder line dipole that I bought from trueladderline.com. And that's a mast I have there that well, that's another story. But anyway, that's about 27 foot, I guess, over there on that end. And then here's the dipole coming overhead. And this is 600 ohm ladder line that runs down, connects back to the house, and then runs along under the eave over there and around the corner and down to my window, which is the entry point for the shack. The other end of the dipole is this telephone pole over here. It's the bottom spot where the light, let's see if I can zoom in here. Yeah, where that light is right there. I connect to that connect point with the rope. And the dipole starts probably about 20 foot back or so from the telephone pole. So that's the other end of the dipole. And I would imagine that I'm going to have some sort of interaction between the dipole and the vertical when the vertical is being used. When I'm not using the vertical, if I want, I can, obviously with the SteppIR, I can retract it down so it's not going to be much of a difference to the dipole. However, the radial field might affect it. I'm not quite sure until I get it all down and retune the dipole. I won't know. Hopefully it'll tune. Right now, I can tune it with the internal tuner on my Flex. I can tune 6 through 80. 160, it'll do 160. It's long enough for 160, but it doesn't tune up right on 160 with the internal tuner. And that's okay because it's probably not very good. It's probably NVIS 160 anyway. At some point, I'll probably trim it back a little bit on both ends and see if that'll help it tune 160. But it's only 30 foot off the ground. It works really well, and I'll do another video on that at some point. So I bring it up just because since the antennas are close, it looks like you're probably about 20 feet there, if that. Yeah, probably about 15, 20 feet. There's bound to be some sort of interaction between that and the dipole and the radials. Hopefully it won't be a whole lot. Of course, I have metal fence on the outside of this. My neighbor's got a couple of sheds right there, and this neighbor has a shed over here. But that's as good as it gets out here. Lucky out in the country, it's very, very flat, so I have a lot of room around it. Other than those couple of metal sheds and the fence, stuff you can't get around even out here in the country, since I do have some neighbors. Anyway, I just wanted to show you what's up with the flags and the radio field. I will be finishing it up tomorrow, and I'll probably be wrapping up the video tomorrow. Maybe do some of the internal, show you some shots on the radial and the SWR to see how it all turns out. And until then, I will talk to you later. This is M5 ATM.